Hey everyone, happy day after Valentine's Day. I hope everyone is well rested and excited. I know our show is an hour early this week, but that's because of my gracious and very amazing guest that I have today, Tiffany Waddell Tate, allowing me to do something later on. She agreed to move up our time 1 hour. So I am so happy to be joined by someone that I have actually collaborated with in the past. We did a evening like webinar for some folks who I believe were interns or in college, I
Mhm.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Access Point, which is a great podcast. If you don't know that, check that out. We also did a Twitter chat, a Twitter Spaces, I should say, last year because some recruiter slash career coach slash who really wasn't that amazing put out this viral tweet about how they lowballed someone's salary, and Tiffany assembled a crew of other wonderful Black women that got together and kind of combated those things because we were up against an evil force, a demonic force. And we shut that down. But she is the CEO and founder of Career Maven Consulting, an in-demand coach, speaker, thought leader. You've seen her in Forbes, Every Mom, Well and Good, and again, very active on Twitter. Her Instagram is amazing. I believe you go live every which day at noon?
Mondays. Yeah,
Every
Mondays at
Monday at noon, you can come in and get you some Career Maven Consulting coaching assistance. But Tiffany, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hey, Kirsten. Hey, everybody who's tuning in. Like Kirsten said, my name's Tiffany Waddell Tate. I spend a lot of time helping ambitious women think about leveling up in their career, whether that's job acquisition, all the way to, negotiating for promotion. But I also work with organizations and help them engage their employees in different ways through L&D or leadership development
Yes.
experiences. So yeah, I'm excited to be here and chat with you.
Yes, thank you. I did want to have a someone with your expertise come on and talk, especially during Black History Month, because I think a lot of times we don't take into account that sometimes our career advice needs to be tailored to this,
Mm-hmm.
to a certain demographic as well. So I appreciate you giving of your time and your talents for me and my audience today. So we are still what I like to call in the throes of it. Things are a little bit weird. Did your business uptick a great deal in 2020 as folks started to get laid off, as folks started to even think about what, now's a great time for me to do something else, and then how has that changed from then to what we're seeing now?
Yeah. So in 2020, I saw a pretty big boom in the business, largely from companies. So there were a lot of
Yeah.
companies who were approaching me and saying, we usually do trainings, we usually do workshops, but we always ask the same types of people, what do you do? 'Cause, which it sounds wild to say that, but
Yeah.
it's true. I think, on the heels of George Floyd's murder, a lot of organizations were like, hey, maybe we should hire some brown faces to do some of this work that we typically hire for. And so
Yeah.
a lot of people were knocking on my door in 2020 on the organizational side. I did have, one-on-one clients. I was already doing career coaching, helping people
Mm-hmm.
with their branding kits and all that stuff. And I tell people when I started my business, I was writing resumes and LinkedIn profiles, and I
Nice.
stopped doing that in 2020 because it takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm good at it, but it takes a lot of time. And I switched over to doing more speaking and facilitation and one-on-one coaching. So that was 2020. Fast forward to 2023. Gosh, 3 years later.
Wow, is it? I was like, it's 2022. What are you talking about?
Yeah, my brain is like, that doesn't seem right. But yeah, 2023. And now I have more, I still do speaking, still do trainings, but I have more folks on the coaching bench who are like, listen, they're either, unfortunately have been with an organization that's been downsized. And so they're trying to look for new opportunities. Or, I still have a slew of folks who they're in a job, they like it well enough, but they want more. And they
Yeah.
really have never thought about starting a job search from a place of, let's call it abundance, because a lot of people will knock on my door when they have a toxic manager or work kind of sucks. But when you're in a place where you have a job but you want to see what else is out there, that's actually a really good place to be. So I have a mixed bag of people that I work with, but a big, I would say the lion's share of my business is split maybe 60-40 between doing speaking and consulting with organizations and then working with folks one-on-one.
Wow. I like that you said that, start your job search from a place of abundance. And I think a lot of times we have a scarcity mindset. When I talk about job searching specifically, I always call the 0 and the 6, because there's 6 steps. 0 is working and 6 is working too. It's the stuff that's in between. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, when they see work at the beginning, they're thinking, oh, I have to be, employed. I can't be in between jobs. I can't not, or I'm not working in the type of role that I really want to be in. But I tell people all the time, your job search is work. Like your job search is a full-time job, a full-time job. How do you, drive that message home to your clients? I feel for me, a lot of people come to me from a place of, like you said, a place of lack. And, they are either like, you know what, they have lost their confidence, especially when they don't have a job. What's one way that kind of works across the board in terms of level, in terms of industry, in terms of any other demographic, that you help to build them back up before you even get started into the one-on-one coaching sessions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, I can't speak for a lot of career coaches, but I can speak for myself. I typically, my framework flips. So a lot of people in the career coaching space will start with branding, resumes, and all that kind of stuff. And I don't understand how, unless you come to me and you know exactly what you want, which is a very rare occurrence, you can't tell a story if you don't know who your audience is and what you're trying to share. So my process doesn't start with that. I start with mindset, and I also start with clarity on things like, what skills do you have? Like if I was my client, who is Tiffany and what could she do well regardless of where you drop me? Right? Like, am I good at project management? Like, do I know that? Can I speak to that? Right. It depends on the day of the week. But am I good at project management? Have I moved a process from ideation to completion? Am I good at managing relationships? And really mean those things, right? It's like, content wise, what is it that if you were to drop me in the middle of a conference room in any organization, I'm probably going to bring to the table every time because I've been able to do it in other jobs. And then what do I want? What types of work environments do I want to be in? What type of things am I learning? How much am I earning? Like, it's similar to when you're looking for a house or apartment or whatever. You think about the features you want the place to have before you start looking. People don't do that with their job search. So I usually start with that because you need to have some clarity around what you're targeting and what you bring to the table so you can speak about it with confidence. Then we do the career branding stuff after we're clear on the target and at least some of our wins and our abilities and being able to speak to those. And then we get into kind of the brass tacks of networking and applying intentionally. Because by the time you get to that third part, you've built up the stamina and you've built up the story. So you have a little bit more, let's call it emotional strength, because job searching, like you said, is a full-time job. It's a grind. You don't know when it's going to convert. And that is an emotional commitment because you don't know, is this conversation that I'm having going to be the one that gets me the opportunity I want? You don't know.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said that. We have a similar framework now that I hear you say that, because the first thing that people ask me is like, I need a resume. I'm like, well,
No.
and I get, I do, I say, well, here are some people that you can reach out to who are wonderful resume writers. Like, I don't do that. I don't even call it that. I remix your resume, but it's you. Like, I give you the tools that
Mm-hmm.
you are able to do that. And it's, comes from all of those conversations and things that we do. And resume is down the line for me as well. So I think this is a good segue, because what I find is the same way, like you just said, like you're looking for a house, or you're looking for, you're looking for your next job, and you don't even have any criteria. Do you find that a lot of people come to you, and they didn't even know, like they didn't even know how to find a career coach? I mean, if they found you, they did the right thing. But we have a lot. I mean, we got to be honest. We have a lot
Yeah,
of people out here that are calling themselves career coaches that should not be.
talk about it.
So, what are some ways that people can kind of get to you? Like, what are some questions maybe they should ask, or some places that they should be targeting their search that will get people, that will get more people to people like you than the folks that we hear them complain about on the internet all day long?
Yikes. Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is have an understanding of what exactly it is you're looking to do with a coach. So,
Okay.
I worked in the collegiate career services space for over a decade. So, like, my backdrop and how I entered into this work was working with students and early career professionals for a long
Mm-hmm.
time, at private liberal arts institutions in the Southeast. Like, it was my job. 60 hours
Okay.
a week, I was out here grinding, okay, coaching
Okay.
students and doing all that. So if you know you were looking for someone to help you with job search strategy, then they need to have receipts on having done that work consistently over time. Like, that's kind of ground floor. And, some coaches have recruiting backgrounds. Some coaches are like me and have come from the educational space. Some coaches are coaches by trade, meaning, they maybe they've worked in HR, but they have a coaching certification. So
Yeah.
I really don't tend to advise people based on credentialing. I think the receipts and the impact is what matters the most, because there are a
Yeah.
lot of people with credentials that are not effective. So that's the first thing. Do they have receipts on actually helping people get things done? Are they willing to connect you with people they've worked with to vouch for
Mm-hmm.
them? And then depending on what it is you're looking to do, do they either have experience, like actual professional experience in the industry that you're trying to work, if you're going for executive level opportunities, for example. But if you're kind of looking for entry to middle career stage jobs, that may be less important.
Right.
But I also build myself as a generalist. So if you are
Mm-hmm.
looking at coaches that say they are highly specialized in a particular industry, then we need to verify that they actually worked in that industry, because that's what they're selling.
Yeah.
So, in terms of where to look, I think LinkedIn is a great place to start, because if you're on LinkedIn and you tag a company that you worked for, it's not going to populate. I mean, it can populate, I think, if you didn't work there, but you can probably find a few second and third degree connections that also work there to verify if the person is legit.
Yes.
And then if they have testimonials listed, I would just ask them, when you're doing a discovery call or an interview, if there are other people that they have worked for that they will be willing to connect you with, so you can do your due diligence. It's just like looking for a counselor or any other, like a doctor. You read the receipts, you read like what people are saying about them online.
Mm-hmm.
You watch some of their content or what they've published, and you talk to them. And even after that, once you talk to them, understand what their price point is, understand what their process looks like, what are they
Mm-hmm.
selling you, and what their expectations are of you. That's probably the most important thing, because if someone's billing themselves as a coach, then you should have work to do. If they are selling a solution and they're going to do it all for you, 9 times out of 10, that is not a person you want to invest with.
Thank you for saying that. I like, the more you talk, the more I was like, I wonder why. And I'm a recruiter by trade. I'm in talent acquisition, um, and have been my entire career except for the first 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I often wonder, like, why people think that a recruiter's job is so easy. And as I continue to talk to other career, because like you said, some recruiters do offer that service, and then there are a host many more who do it every single day without calling themselves that. It's
Mhm.
just something that they do as part of their job. Why do you think that this industry specifically, something that's so important, that gives you your your livelihood, like it's your, for some people it's their, what their job is, can be their identity, it could be the place that it's the place you're going to spend the most time. Why are we so lackadaisical with finding the people that are going to connect us to our opportunities?
Well, honestly, I think part of it is lack of awareness. I think
Mm,
just like in any other human services field, like if you don't really know or understand how much time and knowledge acumen it takes to do whatever that job is really well, you might underestimate how important
mhm.
it is to find someone that is legit. So like that's one reason I think. And I think the other thing is, at least in the United States, we're socialized to think of jobs as the reward for some educational or trade path.
Yeah.
So, like, I thought that too. I went to college and I was like, well, I'm at this college. I'm going to get my little grades. And when I graduate, I will get a job. Like, that's how that works.
No.
That's not how it works. And, frankly, for Black and Brown professionals, especially, now this is a generalization I'm about to make. Not, it doesn't include everybody, it doesn't apply to everybody. But a lot of times we are taught to do whatever it is we're doing really well, master that thing. My dad was West Indian. So it was like, you work hard. And when you work hard, you get something in return.
Mhm.
That's not how the American workforce works. You have to actually speak up for yourself. You have to know what you're going after. You have to negotiate. You have to advocate. You have to keep working. It's like you're doing your job and you have to like sell yourself at the same time. But that's not how we're taught. And so then
Yeah.
you become an adult, you start working and you think, oh, the promotion's going to come because I'm here working. And that's not how it works. So I think that's a big part of why is like, people somehow download this lie or this myth that showing up to work is like all you have to do, or going to
Well,
class you have to do. And it's like, no, unfortunately, that's typically not how it works.
I feel like, that since we're generalizing that, from my generation, we were given that we have to actually not just show up, but we have to do 2 times as much
Yes,
work when we get there.
I'll say that.
Um, and I have loved watching, as things have opened up a little bit more. I have loved watching, the younger generations pushing against that. They call that, just then I call doing your job, or doing the tasks that are assigned to you, not taking on more work without getting the title, the pay, and the other things that go along with it. Now they call that what, like quiet hiring, or a
Oh, quiet
quiet firing, quiet
quiet.
quitting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I just yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about that. I have a lot of thoughts about that because it's like, I'm in the middle. Okay. I'm an older millennial. So I do believe
Okay.
in working hard. Work ethic is a big part of my sort of personal and professional identity. We're not here to talk about how that bumps up against burnout, but whatever.
Okay.
And I also don't believe in unpaid labor, right? Like I don't believe that we should be sharing value, talent, all this kind of stuff with organizations who are then going to make money and not get anything in return. So I'm somewhere in the middle on that. I think you should do the thing that you're hired to do really well. I think sometimes people skip over that. Like if you're being slack on your job, I don't know about that. But there are times and seasons where life happens and you might not be as intense on your job. But if
Mhm.
you're doing the thing that you were hired to do, that's fine. But you
Yeah.
cannot expect to get like amazing bonuses either. Like that's just not how it works. Like if you're running a company, are you going to give people extra money if they're not getting you an extra return? Probably not. But no, there's a disconnect between I think being the employee and being the owner sometimes. So I'm somewhere in the middle on that. Like work hard, but you shouldn't have to do more than Chad just to get the paycheck that Chad gets.
Okay. Like that's literally my ex, one of my old managers' names. So I'm laughing because, let's move on. As you see up here, John Mark. John Mark, thank you for joining. John Mark is probably one of the most credentialed and dopest people that I know. He's like, was like a child prodigy or something. He went to college at like 10, and he's been working ever since, and he has reached those levels where, like running large organizations. If you don't know who he is, look him up, because you will be surprised at all of the things that he has accomplished. But he's on here with me. That is definitely not how it works. Thanks for sharing. I do think there's some nuance though, and like I said, I think as we got a little bit older, or excuse me, I think as more people have come into the workforce, because we're in a place now where we've got, even you probably got some people in my parents' generation, boomers, that are working with Gen Z. My parents are retired, but I know that there are some folks who are still working for whatever reason. Most of them are in Congress. Sorry. I think Mercury's not even in Gatorade, and I'm acting like this. You see how I do? But anyway, like we have people that are, multi-generational workforce. And again, like I was still being guided and taught by, yes, it was shade. I was still being guided and taught by, like I said, a generation of boomers who were, in a lot of instances, if we're talking about white collar work, or what people call professional, non trade skilled labor. Some of them were the first generation to be in those situations, but I don't think that there's been enough of a shift. I still don't think that there has. I'm going to be transparent about the fact, and I'll say this every time I'm given the opportunity. I was so hopeful. So hopeful, when, we had that shift, and what I thought was a shift in 2020. We were getting all the calls. Organizations seemed to be reaching out. We talked a little bit about this offline, but can you share, where organizations did the right thing before, and then, in your opinion, are they still, committed to those strategies that they were reaching out to you for? If not, why?
Yeah, I think where organizations were doing the right thing was hiring people to help them assess what their organizational culture looked and felt like for color and marginalized communities. So that's the right thing. The wrong thing is posting a black box on your social media account to say you're down for the cause, and then that's it. I think, so if you're like actually doing the work to interrogate your company, to interrogate your systems, to interrogate your processes, and to look at the data, right? Numbers don't lie. Look at the data of who's being recruited into your organization and who you're keeping. Awesome. You get a gold star. You're doing the work. Hopefully you're still doing that work. And then you're actually putting in measures to make an impactful change on the numbers that you saw. I mean, it's math, right? Like you can call it what you want to call it, but it's just a reality. It's math. And then on top of the math, there's the qualitative experience that people are having, like peeling back the curtain and figuring out, okay, if our attrition numbers look like X, what are the things that we're learning from our exit surveys, our employee engagement surveys, from, anecdotal conversations that are telling us what's impacting that? Like, what are those factors? Is it just pay, competitive in the market, or do we have some other cultural issues that we need to solve for? That's all the right stuff. Fast forward to 2023. We talked about this offline a little bit. I haven't gotten as many calls to come in and do Black History Month stuff, albeit even at the last minute last year, people were still asking, This year, companies have, I think, when I talk to my peers, seem to be deprioritizing DEI and culture work in a substantive way, or they're rolling it into somebody else's job description instead of carving out a team to actually do the work and to maintain the work. And that expands beyond Black History Month. That's 365. Culture is a 365 thing. And I find it ironic when, Kirsten, I don't know if in your circles people were calling it this, but I've heard this war on talent language.
I don't like that. Like, why are we a war? Like,
it's not a war, y'all.
I don't listen.
It's not.
There are a couple things that at my big age I do not want to do. Go to war and go to jail are at the top of that list.
I want to do that.
Why would you want to fight? Like, why are we fighting this? Like, shouldn't it should be more of a, a prom, a nice party.
A quest for talent,
Yeah. The war on talent, like, oh, we're fighting. But the question is, what are we fighting?
Well, right. I think we also need to be, and I say we sort of in this collective way. I'm not in the recruiting space, but it's like, oh, I see the comment popping up, but it's like, it's not a war on talent. We had a global pandemic and a lot of people died. So like, there are a lot of human beings who are not here anymore. Again, math, okay. But also employee value proposition and what companies are saying they're providing for employees, not just taking from employees, but what are you providing? Like, what type of employee experience are you providing? Are people going to come here, do some good work, and then not have a career advancement plan? Is there no succession planning? Is it like, do you just not care? I'm a mom, so I'm always like, listen, we gonna have to do this carpool line. Yeah. I can't do the meeting before next time. And like, I'm at the stage of my career where I have a little bit more privilege to say those things. Not everybody does, so I want to name that.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're worried about if my status light is on at exactly a certain time rather than my work product, you probably are not prioritizing your EVP, And so like, that's the war, is figuring out how to get your house in order if you want to really hire and retain people. But that's not my business.
No, it is your business. No, ma'am, it is your business. It is 100% your business. So my friend Christina, I always say her last name in the proper way. I call her Minyard, even though it's Minyard, because I like it. It sounds better. But Christina says, I signed in just in time to hear war for talent. Ugh, so glad you two agree. It's not war. Well, some days I fight. So I have a war against the people who call it war on talent. Oh man, we're coming up on time. I didn't even get to ask you most of the things that I wanted to ask you. So, but we're gonna move in there. So one of the things that we were meant to talk about was, all of these mass layoffs, and especially what job seekers, like one thing, that they can do to kind of ground themselves and not get too discouraged, by these every day seeing 10,000 people, 4 people, 40% of the workforce, however they're reporting it to make it, more shocking. That's how the data, that is how the data works. Because 80 and 20 are the same thing when you're talking about 100. But we have to, what's one thing that job seekers can do to kind of, like I said, own their own, like you said, own their own job search strategy and own their job search journey?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's a scary time when you see all those media headlines and stuff, but I like to encourage job seekers, or whether you're actively looking or you just have a job and you're seeing these headlines, think of yourself as actively passive. So making sure that your, branding stuff is up to date, making sure that you're having networking conversations at least monthly with people, just so that you have a pulse on possibilities. Should always be looking for a job. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I think in sort of the talent space, we talk about top talent and like, key ID and all this kind of stuff. But it's like, at the end of the day, if you are a person who needs to work to pay your bills or pay for things, then you should always, I think, be actively in the market. You don't have to wait until there is a workplace trauma or a really negative event to have conversations with people and explore. So just keeping your materials together, keeping your eyes open for possibilities, and having networking conversations so you're always entertaining possibilities. There's another career coach, online, who calls it dating jobs. Kanika told her, she calls it dating jobs. I would echo that. Like, you're not married to your job. And I think instead of reading headlines and freaking out about the possibility of getting laid off, the reality is any one of us, if we work for an organization, could get laid off. Like, it could happen. Unfortunately, there are, some companies that it might be more likely to happen just because of a few things that I won't talk about it because that's not my lane. But the true reality is it technically is always a possibility. So I don't say that to make people feel fearful or feel stressed, but I do think that you kind of always want to keep your toe out there, see what's out there, even be interviewing so you don't get rusty. I mean, don't interview just to play on people's time and play on people's calendar, but see what's out there. There's more money to be made and jobs to be
Yes.
had.
And I love that. And I need you to put that on a shirt so I can wear it. Have a pulse on possibilities. Woo! And don't do me if I spell possibilities wrong. Y'all know I cannot see my laptop. I can't even hardly see these words. I don't know if there was a red line under that spelling it incorrectly. I need to get glasses that I can see my computer with. These are not working. Anywho, we are at the 1:30 mark, and I do want to do a little bit more fun stuff and, do some Black history themed questions. So before we do that, though, in case people want to drop off, can you tell folks, number one, where to find you, and number two, what's next for you or coming up in the next month, 2 months?
Sure. So you can find me on my website, careermavenconsulting.com. I think it's scrolling across the bottom. Or on Instagram at Tiffany Waddell Tate or at Career Maven Consulting. I exist on the internet like many people these days. And I think what's next is if you're just looking for someone to come and do some training at your organization, definitely hit me up. I also have a job search course called Career Maven Academy for job seekers to jump into my coaching framework on your own. It essentially takes you through 4 weeks of content. It has homework assignments because I believe in the work to help you move to action on your job search. And you can find that on my website as well.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So I hope you have thought about this because I did give you just a little bit of leeway to answer this question. But what's the best career advice that you didn't take or that you took later on after you had made 2 or 3 missteps?
Yeah, so many pieces of advice. I think one thing that I did not take to heart early in my career was this idea of not waiting in line. In my 20s, I thought I had to wait until someone else just magically dubbed me capable or able to do something, when in reality, work is not actually a ladder. There are some companies that have ladder-esque cultures, but generally speaking, it's not a ladder. If you can do the work, if you can contribute value, it has no age, it has no stature. I'm not saying that experience doesn't matter, but sometimes we put arbitrary rules on our progress. And had I taken that to heart earlier in my career, I don't know, maybe I would have done some other things differently or, made more money earlier. I don't know.
I love that. So we're going to state it again. Work is not actually a ladder. It does not have to be. And any recruiters know that because our process and our life, our work is what I call chutes and ladders. So because we could be all the way at the top and one mistake take you right back down. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, please buy Chutes and Ladders. It's the best board game that was ever created. I don't care about Monopoly. I don't care about life. It's Chutes and Ladders. The end. All right. So I know the answer to this, but does sugar go on grits?
No.
Good job. We're going to move on because you don't eat grits. So
I don't eat grits, but if I did, I would not put sugar on them.
Mm-mm. Yes, I did take it back, John Mark, because Chutes and Ladders is the best game. And then what else? That song. So it could be the way you started Black History Month, or the thing that gets you going when you're either having a bad day or you really need to pump yourself up. What's that song you're going to put on?
First song that comes to mind is called Big Bank. I cannot remember the rapper, but the song is basically like Big Bank hates Little Bank, and it's really a really overconfident song about doing your thing and being on top.
All right, John Mark, who sings Big Bank? He's used to be a record executive, and now he's a media. Let's be clear, he's a media mogul, and I'm a little bit nervous that he's even watching this because he could get me kicked off of the internet right now, especially for saying that shade about Congress. But that's a little, especially for that. All right. Next question. It says Big Bank Hank from the Sugar Hill Gang. No. There is a song, and you know there's a song, so don't do that. I know it. All right, so Black History Month do's and don'ts. First, don't for organizations. Black History Month don't.
Don't hire a white woman to be your keynote. Step one.
Who did that? Never mind. Don't tell me.
Don't do it. Just don't.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, so what's a do?
I think a do would be to consider having a sacred space for Black employees to come together and be in community with one another, and have something that's company or enterprise wide that's open to all, that highlights, both our history and also shares some updates on how the company is moving forward as well.
I love it. All right. Do you have any special Black History Month traditions that you do?
Not really, because I'm Black. I'm like, listen, we Black all the time.
You are? Are you?
I like to honor that history all the time. Okay. But something I do like to do, that I've started doing in the last couple of years, is highlighting Black-owned companies and brands that I pay in. So I'm a little behind on doing that on my stories, but I like to highlight, local and national brands that I just have an affinity for, to amplify them as best I can.
I love that. And you did mention one. So if you want to restate that one and then add another.
Ooh, what did I say?
Talked about date your job.
Oh yeah, Kanika Tolver.
You're like, I did.
Yes, Kanika Tolver is another career coach out in the ecosystem. She has a book out. She talks about dating your job. She's great if you're thinking about breaking into tech specifically. Okay. And then another one that I'm just into right now, it's local to where I live in North Carolina, but they do ship wherever. It's called OMG Wellness Bar. She, the owner, Shayla Herndon Edmonds, she created this Whip Shay line to help her kids with their eczema. And I've been using it for years and I love it.
It's OMG Wellness Bar?
OMG Wellness Bar.
Do they have an online store?
Yeah, they do. They do. They have an online store and they sell body products, soap, beard oil. If you have somebody you want to buy some beard oil for. Great.
What are you trying to do?
I'm not. I'm just saying if anybody else needs to buy some.
What is happening? First you came in here and first of all, you got comfortable. You were she took off, she had a blazer on. She was looking very professional. And then she saw me sitting here with a "You're a recruiter, can you get me a job" shirt. And she said, you know what? I'm not even going to give her my good fanciness. I'm not going to give her all this sauce. I'm going to just take this off. And I don't know. Now you're talking about people with beards. It's because I have a beard at my old age.
No, I'm just saying they have stuff.
She said I need some beard oil, y'all.
I cannot. And now John Mark is talking about should I leave? Okay.
Ignore him. He doesn't have a beard. He is 100% Black African, clearly because the face, facial hair, Mm-hmm. So he's 100%. Let me stop messing with him. Let me stop messing with. Oh, they're gonna kick. I'm not gonna be able to come back next week. I'm gonna get banned off Facebook Live again. They'll put me up on trumped up charges, and y'all know I don't like being in jail. Anywho, it was anything. Like I said, I'm gonna give you one more opportunity to drop any last nugget that you have for Black professionals who are looking to reimagine work and become the CEO of their career story.
Yeah, I think the two nuggets I will leave. One is make sure you're carving out time for yourself. So put containers of success on your calendar for your job search. That's when you do your job search stuff. So you're not up at 2 a.m. scrolling and doom scrolling, and then you're tired the next day. And the second thing is, whether or not you're looking for a job, make sure you're creating space for your own professional development. It could be reading a book. It could be listening to a podcast. It could be going to a conference you've always wanted to go to. It could be free or cost. The point is that you are creating space and time consistently for your own development, whether your company's doing it or not.
All right, so let me get this last comment up. Make sure you're carving out time for yourself, and make sure you're creating time for your own professional development.
100%.
I did it. All right, y'all got that. Make sure you're carving out time for yourself. Make sure you're creating time for your own professional development. Thank you guys so much for joining us again this week. I had a wonderful time with Tiffany. I don't even know where that last comment came in that sent me to a, like I said, I'm very self-conscious about, my old lady facial hair, my one Billy goat hair that grows right here every couple days, it seems. But anyway, so glad she was here today to talk about some career and job search strategies, even in the midst of some troubled times, like I said, with layoffs and with us still kind of feeling the aftershocks of a 2-year pandemic. Next week, we're closing out Black History Month in a way that will piggyback off of this story, and be bringing on Stephen A. Hart. Yeah, very excited to have him. He is the host of Trailblazers podcast and an expert at helping people, come into their personal brand. And he works with entrepreneurs and business leaders, and he has been so gracious to lend his time to us. If you haven't already, take a look at Trailblazers podcast everywhere podcasts are found. Also, make sure that you go to Career Maven Consulting.com to learn a little bit more about Tiffany's business and how she can help you. I'm speaking specifically not only to job seekers, but also to organizations who have been a little lax on continuing their diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, whatever initiatives. So again, join us back here next week. We'll be at our regular time, 2:00, because I do not have to jump off to do a workshop like I'm about to do now. And we'll see you then. And then, you'll stick around for March because Women's History Month is coming up. And I've got lined up some amazing, amazing women who are doing some wonderful things. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kirsten.